I'm Bria Morantis with Mike Fisher. We're here at Dallas Cowboys headquarters, the Star. It's week 15 of NFL action, and the Cowboys head to Buffalo. But before we get to that, there are some irresponsible rumors that we hear around the Star often.
Irresponsible is a strong,
a little bit though.
Strong but accurate.
Yeah, right? So of all of these rumors that you may be hearing, is there any rumors that you think have merit when it comes to trade or otherwise?
All right, let's call it transaction rumors.
Okay.
The idea of the Cowboys in the off-season, because obviously the trade deadline's gone now.
Right.
The off-season, inviting offers for Trey Lance, the third-string quarterback. There's sense to it. It's not something that anybody around here talks about. In fact, quite the contrary. I've got two sources in this building that say they'd like to re-sign Trey Lance.
Yeah,
and
he seems like a good fit in the locker room.
No doubt, and we've had good visits with him. I don't think I think the players are fine with him. You know, he's the third-string quarterback. He hasn't made any waves about that. That's his job.
Played yet.
and he's not as good as Cooper Rush. Not at this time for this team. But they're not going to pick up his fifth-year option. That's $25 million for 2025, so that's out. Next year, he's guaranteed $5 million. So that's affordable. They gave up a fourth-round pick for him. If somebody wants to give more than that, the Cowboys should listen. And we would suggest that the Minnesota Vikings, he's from Minnesota.
Yeah.
So there could be a culture fit there, if you will. If the Vikings want to give up a 2 for Trey Lance, if they go to the draft and don't get an answer,
gosh, that would be a win for Dallas, wouldn't it?
and that's how you build. That's taking that paperclip and building it into a house. The stuff about Martavis Bryant that's out there, this is completely made up.
Okay.
And again, it's not a trade, but it's a potential transaction. The idea that teams would be clamoring to poach him from the Cowboys, and they can. They have to take him and put them on their active 53-man roster, and the only way the Cowboys could respond to block that is by putting him on their 53-man roster. Well, the latter almost certainly isn't going to happen. I've already got 6 wide receivers on the roster.
Yeah.
I already every week don't play Brooks.
Yes.
So he's a healthy scratch every week. So now I'm going to add a 7th guy and make him a healthy scratch too, because I so value my 7th receiver. It doesn't add up. Also doesn't add up for other teams to make this a priority. Not that it can't happen. Chargers, whoever. He turns 33 soon. He's 6'4" and 220 pounds, and we hadn't played in 4 years.
Yes.
It seems to me, and this is just us talking now, if somebody really coveted Martavis Bryant, then there would have been a bidding war for him instead of the Cowboys saying, "Why don't you come on in?"
Yeah.
And he comes on in. They're, all right, fine, we'll give it a try. This is an experiment for the Cowboys, and it's not more than that. The fact that he is a noticeable player. I mean, we do. When he's on the practice field and he's standing next to Vontae Turpin, you notice him. But in terms of this being an important transaction, a pursuit of this guy, it's way down the list from the Shaq Leonard thing from a week ago,
right?
Where we tried to suggest that with Shaq that was not going to be a bidding war. He went where he was comfortable. It wasn't a super priority for Dallas. They would have liked to have had him. Had they loved to have had him, they offered him a 2-year deal.
Right.
They didn't offer him that. They offered him the same piddly deal, essentially, that the Eagles offered him. Then he goes to the Eagles, plays against the Cowboys, and has an innocuous performance. He had 2 tackles.
Right.
So a lot of these things are headline grabbers, but that doesn't mean a lot of them are worthy of being headlines.
Whether the Cowboys do something or they don't do something, they are.
It's a headline.
The Cowboys head to Buffalo this week. Now, this is a kind of a prove-it game for Dallas, who has a 15-game winning streak in Dallas, but hasn't really had that big win on the road yet this season. This would be a big win. What do you think is the key to victory for the Cowboys?
Yeah, and I'm not so much into I need a signature win on the road.
Right.
The Cowboys did talk about that, signature win at home, signature win anywhere. They feel like that is the case with Philadelphia. I thought what they did in Seattle was that.
Yeah.
The real signature in a road game is going to have to be against the 49ers and the Eagles.
Always comes down to that, doesn't it?
But because those have such impact over the course of the standings, and then obviously in the playoffs too.
Yeah.
playing at Buffalo is a challenge, weather and otherwise. The Bills are talented. They're 3-time defending champions in the AFC East, and they're in a must-win.
Right.
They got to win, and they got to do their best to try to win out, or the defending division champions and perennial Super Bowl contender might not even make the playoffs. So it's important in that sense. Here's why I don't need a signature road win if I'm Dallas. I need a road win. They are essentially, over the course of the last 2 years, a 500 team on the road, which is the definition of mediocre.
Totally.
And we think of the Cowboys as being consistently good, and they have been under Mike McCarthy. 12-5, 12-5, and look where they're going now.
Right.
But they don't win on the road like a great team should. There's an old football saying about the NFL about if you sweep at home and split on the road, you're in good shape. And you do add up to being in good shape.
Yeah.
But since the Cowboys are quite likely in the playoffs to be, if they advance, road,
Right.
they might want to get some muscle memory confidence in winning a road game against a good team in Buffalo now.
Couldn't agree more. And good for the Cowboys is the weather in Buffalo doesn't look too cold, maybe 40s, 50s, which is kind of what it is here in Dallas. So, today we saw tight end Jake Ferguson dipping his hands in an ice bucket before practicing, and oof, so cold.
Yeah.
But I think that's good. They're prepared for the cold weather should it show up.
Yeah, wet ball workouts, wet ball practice is what Mike McCarthy's talking about, and we did see it in action with some of the receivers. They'll do it on the jugs machine all week. The center will work with a wet ball. Brandon Aubrey and the special teams will work with a wet ball.
Yeah.
They've done such a good job adjusting. Aubrey just seems, mentally impenetrable.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, I think, this is almost a cliche now, his level of mental strength.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's going to phase them, but it's worth pointing out, whether it's a assistant coach or the third string, whoever it is that's out there throwing that heavy ball, you're going to have to use both arms because it is a heavy ball. It is burdensome, and it will take some getting used to. So starting on Thursday, the Cowboys getting very used to a possible wet ball game at Buffalo.
Yep. Let's chat a little bit about quarterback Dak Prescott. Now, you and I have spoke about his MVP chances for the last month or so, but of course now he's at the top of the candidates. What do you see when you look around the league as far as the contenders go for the NFL MVP?
If Dak Prescott and the Cowboys win out, which I think is unlikely, I think the idea of going to Buffalo on an East Coast trip, coming home, and then doing it again on an East Coast trip to Miami, two
tough.
quality teams, that's burdensome.
During the holiday season.
All that stuff. And then, of course, you do get to come home, and then you got another holiday game against the Lions on Saturday night, the 30th. Now, that's the Jimmy.
Sneaky good.
Right. So, all those things, it's grueling and emotional, and all those things can pile up. But if the Cowboys continue to do what they're doing, which is win, and Dak keeps doing what he's doing, which is lead wins statistically and otherwise, he'll win the MVP. We could say the same thing though about Josh Allen. What if they win out?
Right.
If they win out, Josh Allen will be the central reason, and he's going to get votes as we stand here right now. Tua, Tyreek, Lamar Jackson.
Lamar should be in there.
For some reason, Lamar Jackson isn't always mentioned in the same class right now as Dak and Purdy in the 49ers, but Lamar Jackson is central to everything they do and has his MVP trophy already sitting on the mantle.
Yeah.
So I think this is a week where you could lose the MVP. If Josh Allen loses to the Cowboys, that may, on national TV in front of everybody, that could lose him some votes. The same thing could apply, of course, to Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Down the stretch, 49ers and Brock Purdy play the Ravens. If Lamar Jackson beats Purdy and the 49ers, I think Lamar Jackson jumps up. So this will be a fun month. And of course, Dak will be the first to tell you, and I think all these guys would agree with this. I'm not trying for the MVP.
Absolutely not.
I'm trying for team success, and if team success comes at the highest level, the MVP trophy will come as well.
What do you make of the Dallas defense not allowing an offensive touchdown to the Eagles? Micah Parsons being sick, but he was at practice today. What do you make of the way that they're playing right now?
Yeah, to do that to A.J. Brown, who got 9 catches, but inconsequential, to do that to Jalen Hurts, and they just clogged him up completely.
Yeah.
He was able to produce relatively nothing.